Well, Sherwin, welcome to Sudbury.
Thank you. It's really a pleasure to be here.
I want to start with your presentation this morning, and you tell a story about the startup of Bose, the chaos, the uncertainty, and the risk. And yet many startups in our community hear the importance of developing a comprehensive 60-page business plan, and yet some of the sentiment you shared today was a little bit counter to that. I'm wondering if you could provide some insight.
So my feeling is business plans are a good exercise, but typically they're useless when you're trying to actually do something. They're accurate when you write them, and the next day there are problems with them. So what we usually counsel is instead of writing business plans, what you really should do is do business planning. Think through not just the numbers, but the path you're going to take, the kinds of steps you need to go through, and the expectations that you have as you go along.
Right, and one of the interesting things, kind of building on that you mentioned, was this whole idea of sometimes in a down market, that's the best time to maybe build a portfolio of research and innovation. But you made reference to the fact that innovation is it's got to be a continuous process, continue to do so. But sometimes with that innovation, maybe you just want to hold back and sit on it because the timing might not be right. What were you suggesting by that?
So if you're going to have a company that innovates, you can't turn it on and off. I mean, people are thinking all the time, they're coming up with ideas all the time. If you try to turn it off, they will be going and doing other things, and they'll stop thinking.
Right.
So what I believe is if you want to have a company that incorporates innovation, you do it continually.
Right.
You keep innovating, you keep the process going, you keep people thinking about the kinds of things that you want to. But the market might not be ready for that innovation.
Right.
So what you can do then is keep innovating, but don't take it forward and bring it to the market.
Right.
Kind of bank your innovations so that you have a backlog of those things, and then when the market's right, you can hit the market with all sorts of things all at once, and thereby you can really push big growth at that point,
right,
when the time is right.
Well, and what's interesting, kind of taking it one step further, with a great deal of pride and happiness, you made mention of the origins of Bose had very limited equity capital at the onset. I'm curious to know, many of the startups today here, until you get that startup capital, until you do that big raise, maybe you should wait. I'm curious to know, the notion of, building and growing your company with the profits of generating revenue and building the business kind of the bootstrap way. Why was that decision made at Bose?
So being able to do that depends on the nature of the company. With a company like Bose, it wasn't a huge capital investment up front, so you could match your investment to the growth of the company. And our thinking was, look, we have a vision of what we want. We have a vision of where we're headed. We want to be able to control that so that we achieve our vision. If we keep raising money and bring more and more people into the ownership side of things, pretty soon we won't control the venture anymore. And we'll be doing what our investors want rather than what we want.
Right. So one of the other really interesting things that came out today was the context in which Bose was started. It started in the research lab at MIT, one of the world's preeminent research institutions, and it was kind of a bit of a side project mixed in conjunction with your research work with Professor Bose. One of the challenges that we have in Canada in our academic institutions is that the incentive mechanism is really focused on researchers, professors, publish your papers, get your citations, do your conference proceedings, and commercialization really isn't at the forefront. And this is a bit of a systemic issue. I'm curious for with the environment that exists like that, any insight that you might share with the academic researchers that you based on your experience with the formation of Bose, that you would share to say, maybe think about that, but also commercialization is a good thing.
So I look at it as part of the academic mission. I mean, what good is knowledge if it doesn't make the world better in some way? And so a part of the responsibility is not just the discovery of new knowledge, but its dissemination and its incorporation into a useful society. And for a lot of the research that goes on in universities today, commercialization is a path to that.
Yeah.
And so I think people in the university need to consider that as a part of their mission.
Yeah.
Even though they're not incentivized by it, it's a part of being a good citizen.
And maybe once it kind of starts and percolates and they see the benefits, it'll become more entrenched in the fabric of the academic institutions.
I think that's what tends to happen. The problem is when something isn't the norm, people hesitate to do it. But when they see everybody doing it, then it becomes part of the fabric of what's done, and then it's easier to do.
Right. One of the things that you're a global champion, if I can use the term is advocating mentorship. You've been there, you've done that. Beyond co-founding Bose, you're also the co-founder among a few other partners of the MIT Venture Mentoring Service. Arguably one of the world's most sophisticated models built within the confines of MIT. How did that become one of the eminent mentorship models that other organizations that focus on enabling and supporting the growth of entrepreneurs? How did that come to be so eminent in the global stage?
So I think part of it was we focused on making our mentor program work, and then focused on making it better and better. So we treated our work in building venture mentoring, the venture mentoring service, as entrepreneurial. So it was good to do it at once and get it going, but then kept saying, well, what's wrong? What can we do better? How can we make this more effective? And when I mean work on it, every week we would get together and talk about how can we make this better, how can we make it more effective. You know, when you do that over a period of time and really work at it, it really makes a difference.
Absolutely.
So it's hard work, I think, but focused work.
Got it. So, last question. Greater Sudbury area, a population of 175,000. We have a density problem in that it's spread out over a huge area. What would you say, based on communities of our size, that we need to do to really drive sustained job and wealth creation through entrepreneurial endeavors?
Part of what causes entrepreneurship to flourish is when an entrepreneurial community exists. Not when it's all isolated, but when the pieces all work together and encourage entrepreneurship. You know, if you want to become an entrepreneur and you're the only one in your family or the only one in your school who wants to do that, it's hard.
Yeah.
You know, people tell you, well, you're doing something wrong. But when you have a community of like-minded people who all want to become entrepreneurs, it becomes a norm. And then it becomes easier for each individual to forward their thoughts about what it is they want to do and what they want to be.
And it might easier said than done sometimes, but it becomes ingrained in the social fabric, and with each subsequent generation, they get it, they understand it.
That's right. And pretty soon, for example, at MIT, freshmen coming in, one question that they're asked right away is, well, are you interested in entrepreneurship? Would you like to learn about it? We have other students who are doing that. Why don't you join them? That becomes a norm then, and people do it. And then it grows and grows and grows.
That's fabulous. Well, Sherwin, on behalf of the community of Sudbury, we want to appreciate you for coming in and speaking to us today.
Well, thanks very much, Don. I appreciate it.